VLOOKUP function in Excel.
Good day everyone and welcome to my presentation. My name is Eleanor Carbon and I'm a computer science student at Taguig City University. The topic of my presentation is about the Excel VLOOKUP formula. What is VLOOKUP? A VLOOKUP definition is looking for a value in a column and return a result from a cell in the row where a match is found. Now, here is the VLOOKUP formula. We will learn how to use VLOOKUP formula in Excel. So we're going to do the step-by-step of VLOOKUP to find the student's subject score. So here's the example how to use VLOOKUP formula. In this example, we have the names of Araki, Belly, Cherin, Doyong, Eri, Lian, Wasa, and Kera. And these are the subjects that they are studying: math, physics, chemistry, and biology. And the marks that they've achieved are mentioned here, along with the marks of other students that are there in the class, and along with the other subjects appeared that they have studied. So now I'm going to show you an example how to get the student score for these subjects. So we're going to get Araki's math score. Okay, I'm going to show how to do this. So let's go to Excel. Click Insert to make sure that the function is set to VLOOKUP. Click Function, then Lookup and Reference. Now find the VLOOKUP. Okay, so here is the VLOOKUP. So let's click VLOOKUP. Alright, we simply press equal to and type in VLOOKUP, and it says looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns the values in the same row from a column you specify. By default, the table must be sorted in ascending order. So we look up and we open the bracket and it says lookup value, which is nothing but the criteria. So our lookup value is Araki. So I select Araki, I press comma, and it says table array. Table array means nothing but the database which would contain your answer. So I select the complete database. Now if you see, I have mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, or let's say A, B, C, D. On the top R is mentioned, just above the criteria. Alright, and the rest of the numbers are in sequence. So let's see. So we're trying to find the marks of math over there. And math says number 2, right? Why? Because if we see, after selecting table array, it's asking us to put in a comma, which of course we will. And then it is asking for a column index number. It means that once it finds Araki's, then from which column should it the result. Now you have to specify the column you need to view the number. Now that number is again the referential. The number is the column number would be reference based on its distance from the criteria. So your criteria is always column number 1. So if you are looking for a marks in math, then they are here, which is column number 2, next to the name, which is the criteria. So we need to press comma and given the column number what? If we're looking for math, then 2. Alright, then we can press comma again. Then close the bracket. And here is the answer. See, Araki has got 38 marks. Let's see, the sheet 2, if it's same. So as you can see, it's same. Now let's try another one in other subject. Eri. So let's go back to Excel. Again is equal to VLOOKUP. Select the lookup values where the VLOOKUP written, or you can type in Eri. Alright, table array like we discussed to be your database. Let's select database. Alright, press a comma. It's asking for a column index number. We're looking for Eri. What are we looking? We are searching for physics. So physics is on column number. Press column number 3, comma, 0, and you get the marks for Eri. So as you can see, Eri has got 55 marks. Okay, well done. So this is how we apply VLOOKUP. Actually, getting the value is you can use the same formula construct to get anyone's marks and any of the subjects. You can do this and easily get what are you looking for. And that is VLOOKUP formula in Excel was what I wanted to share with you. How to use VLOOKUP. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Laila Golde. Today, I'm going to discuss the VLOOKUP function and Excel. So what is Excel VLOOKUP? VLOOKUP function finds items in a table arranged by row. This is the formula of VLOOKUP. It has four parameters. The first parameter is lookup value. What are you searching for? The second is table array. Where do you want to search? And the third is column num. Each column contains the result. And lastly is the range lookup. It should be the lookup value be an exact match or an approximate match. So I have two examples here. The first example is how to use VLOOKUP to get the lookup data and other tab Excel sheets. So let's tackle about the first example. As you can see, I have two sheets here, the approximate VLOOKUP and the VLOOKUP from other sheets. And the approximate VLOOKUP sheets, it contains the data of speeds, which contains two columns, the miles per hour in the description. And the other sheet, it contains problems that we will use the VLOOKUP formula to solve this problem. The problem is, what is the description and cross-reference table of the entity traveling at 180 miles per hour? Here we are looking at the description of the traveler at 180 miles per hour. To find a description of the 180, we will use the VLOOKUP formula. So click the cell and type is equals to VLOOKUP. Since we were searching the description of 180 and cell 6, we will click here and as you can see, it automatically put in the cell. And next is the table array. Since we have two tabs here, we will click the approximate VLOOKUP tabs that contains all the data of the speeds. And then, since we were looking the table array, simply highlight or drag through whichever portion of data you would like to retrieve data from. Do not include column heads in your selection. As you can see, it automatically put in the cell. The next is the column num. Since we look in the description of 180 miles per hour, we will put here the 2. Why 2? Because here the approximate data tabs, the column 1 is miles per hour, while the column 2 is the description. So column 2 is our looking. The next is the range lookup. Since we're looking for exact match, we will use the false. And when we hit the enter, we will get the description in other tab Excel sheet. Let's look at the approximate tab. So as you can see here, the description at 180 is racing car, so we get the same description. Let's look another one. If the VLOOKUP can find who is traveling at 65 miles per hour. So let's change the value here. And you see that the description is vehicle on main road traveling reasonably fast. Let's look at the approximate tab. So as you can see, the description in 65 miles per hour is vehicle on main road traveling reasonably fast. So we get the same description. So the next example is how to use VLOOKUP to get the lookup data and other document Excel sheets. The next example is the step-by-step VLOOKUP to match student IDs and login codes to student names. As you can see, I have two documents here. The first document contains the student ID and login code, while document 2 contains student ID and student name. As you can see, the student ID is the common denominator of these two sheets. So in this case, we want to bring all the student name from document 2 and document 1. To do this, we use the VLOOKUP formula. First, I will make a new table and we will put a name, student name, and then click into the cell that we would like student names to be stored in and type is equals to VLOOKUP. Then in document 2, click into the cell containing the first student ID in the list. As you can see, after you click the cell and document 2, it automatically put in the cell and document 1. Next is the table array. Since we have two documents here, we will go to the document 2. Simply highlight or draw through whichever portion of data you would like to retrieve data from. So do not include column heads in your selection. As you can see, it automatically put in the cell in document 1. So the next is the column index. Since we're looking the student name, put here 2. Why 2? Because in the document 2, the column of the student name is in the column 2. So column 2 is our looking. Then next is the range lookup. Since we're looking for exact match, we will use the false. And when we hit the enter, we will get the first student name from the document 2. If you want to copy all the names from the document 2 and bring in document 1, you need to remove the $sign and formula. To do this, click here and then remove the $sign between A and 2. Once you remove the extra $sign, copy it down and there you have it. The document 1 now contains student IDs, login codes, and the student names.
Hi, my name is Haley Kate Sambolante. Today I am going to discuss to you one of the example of VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP for approximate matches, true keyword as the last parameter. Consider a scenario where a table calculates discounts for the customer who do not want to buy exactly tens or hundreds of items. As shown below, certain company has imposed discounts on the quantity of items ranging from 1 to 10,000. Now, it is uncertain that the customer buys exactly hundreds or thousands of items. In this case, discount will be applied as per VLOOKUP's approximate matches. In other words, we do not want to limit them for finding matches to just the values present in the column that are 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So here are the steps. We have here multiple name box, but any letters will do. But let's start with letter E. Let's put the quantity below and discount right below the letter F. Below the quantity, let's put 1, 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. In discount, we will start with 0%, 3%, 6%, 9%, and 12%. Any discount will do. Below the letter H, let's put the quantity and discount below. Step 1. Click on the cell where the VLOOKUP function needs to be applied. Example, cell reference I2. Step 2. Enter equals VLOOKUP, open and close parentheses in the cell. In the parentheses, enter the set of arguments for the above instance. The parentheses will contain the set of arguments that VLOOKUP needs in order to run. Step 3. Enter the arguments. Argument 1. Enter the cell reference of the cell at which the value present will be searched for the corresponding value in the lookup table. Let's input I1 besides the quantity column because that is where our value will be entered. Step 4. Argument 2. Choose the lookup table or the table array in which you want VLOOKUP to search for the corresponding value. In this case, choose the columns quantity and discount. So that whole quantity and discount will be our table array. Step 5. Argument 3. The third argument would be the column index in the lookup table you want to be searched for the corresponding value. Step 5. Argument 4. Last argument would be the condition for approximate matches or exact matches. In this instance, we are particularly looking for the approximate matches. We will also input number 2 because that column index where the value ought to be present. True means that you want an approximate match. Step 6. Press enter. VLOOKUP formula will be applied to the mentioned cell reference, and when you enter any number in the quantity field, it will show you the discount imposed based on approximate matches in VLOOKUP. Note, if you want to use true as the last parameter, you can leave it blank and by default, it chooses true for approximate matches. Let's try to input 10 and the discount will be 0.03. Next is 500. The discount is 0.06. Everything that is 100 to 999 is still 0.06. Now, let's input 1000 and the discount will change into 0.09.
Good day everyone, welcome to my presentation. My name is Elaine May Ostan. I am a computer science student in Taguig City University. So for today, we're going to tackle about the steps for applying the VLOOKUP function. What is VLOOKUP function? VLOOKUP function stands for vertical lookup. It is a function that makes Excel search for a certain value in a column or the so-called table array. Here are the steps. Step 1. We need to navigate to the cell whenever where you want to view the salary of the particular employee. In this instance, click the cell with index H3. Step 2. Enter the VLOOKUP in the above cell. The parentheses will contain the set of arguments. The set of arguments. Arguments are the piece of data that function needs in order to execute. And VLOOKUP uses 4 arguments or pieces of data. Step 3, the first argument. The first argument will be the cell reference as the placeholder for the value that need to be searched or the lookup value. And lookup value refers to the data which is already available or the data that you already know. In this instance, employee code is considered as the lookup value for the first argument. So the first argument would be the H2. The second argument, it refers to the block of the values that needed to be searched. In Excel, this block of values is known as table array. For example, B2 to E25, the complete block where the corresponding value would be searched. Step 5. The third argument. It refers to the column reference. In other words, it notifies VLOOKUP where you expect to find the data you want to view. So, in step 5, the column reference is the column index in the lookup table of the column where the corresponding value needs to be found. Step 6, the fourth argument. The last argument is range lookup. It tells the VLOOKUP function whether we want the approximate match or the exact match. In this case, we are looking for the exact match, which is the false, the keyword. Step 7, the last step. Press the enter to notify the cell that we have completed the function. So this is what it looks like when we apply the steps in Excel.
Advanced Table in Word.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elaine May Ostan. So today I'm gonna discuss about table styles in Microsoft Office Word. So what is tables? Tables are organizers that can help simplify even the most complex Microsoft Office Word documents. My methods vary depending on a task. Depending on what you are working on, positioning your text using commas, spaces, or tabs can be time-consuming and limiting for what you can do. So, this is schedule, for example, isn't very easy to read. That's when tables come in handy for organizing your text in rows and columns instead of paragraphs. To insert a new blank table, all you have to do is go to Insert Table, then move your mouse over the squares for the numbers of rows and columns you want. So, the table that I need for my schedules is going to be pretty big, 7 columns and 5 rows. Now click and the table appears on your document. But I don't have to start from scratch. In this case, I can convert the text I already have into a table in just a couple steps. Start by selecting your text, then go to Insert Table. Now, convert your text to table and choose one of the options here for separating your text. This is how Word knows what to put in each column. My text isn't separated by paragraphs, commas, or other characters, but by tabs. Click OK and everything appears in a table. Adding more columns and rows in a table is easy. So I'd like to try inserting a row below the one that starts with Christine. So I'm gonna place my cursor here, then right click and go to insert. And my options include inserting a column to the left or right of where my cursor is, or a row above or below. If I click below, the row appears under Christine where my cursor was. Alternatively, if you want to delete a lower column, all you have to do is select it. Right click, then delete cells. So I'm gonna delete the entire row that I selected. So this is looking good, much easier to read. And I think I'm ready to add some formatting to improve the look overall. So, you notice the Design tab and Layout tab appear on the ribbon whenever you have your cursor in your table. Here under Design are your table styles, which you can mouse over for a preview. For the full list, just click the drop-down arrow. Then look for something colorful. Once you've chosen a style, you can customize the way it's laid out using the Table Styles option here. For example, you can decide whether or not to display special formatting for the first column or header row. This will all have a different effect depending on a table style you are using. You might have noticed that this table has a border around the outside and in between the cells. To add or change border anywhere on your table, just select the cells. Then go to Draw Borders. You can select a line style, line weight, and color. For your border, now go to the Borders drop-down menu and choose where you want the border to go. I want mine outside of the cells. You can make further modifications to things like the size and layout of your table by going to the Layout tab. Again, place your cursor anywhere in your table. And now, go to Layout. The first thing I'd like to do is make the table a little bigger. I can drag the bottom border to the size I want or adjust the measurement here. Then click Distribute Rows to make the rows even again. Now I'm going to select the entire table to change the text alignment using these icons. In the alignment group, I think centereds look best. And last, I'd like to combine these 3 cells into one by selecting them and clicking Merge Cells. You can even play with the direction of the text by clicking the text direction. But I think I prefer the way it is, and as you can see, the Layout tab gives you so many options for customizing your table so it works for you and your information you want and the information you want to display.
That's all, thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Laila Golde. Today I'm going to discuss the table style in Microsoft Word. A table style is a collection of table formatting attributes such as table borders and row and column that can be applied in a single step. So I have two examples here. First, creating a table, and second, adjusting your table borders. So let's tackle about the first example. Tables can be used to analyze and present data that you want to include in your Word document. You can create a table from scratch or convert prepared text into a table. Here we have a list of items we want to display in a table. When creating tables, it's important to know how many rows and columns you will need. If you count these items, we know that we need 3 rows and 5 columns. So let's go to the Insert tab and look at how we can insert a table. On the left of the ribbon, open the Tables menu. From this grid, we can insert a custom table. The farther down we go, the more rows our table will have, so we need 3. And the farther across we go, the more columns our tables will have. Like stated earlier, we need 5 columns. After you find the right size of your table, click to insert it. With the table inserted, we can now begin inputting our items. Simply type to add an item. We can navigate through cells with the Tab key. The Tab key will automatically jump to the next cell, but we can move around more freely with the navigational arrows. Let's add the rest of our items. Although creating a table and adding items manually is a fairly simple process, it can get a bit tedious, especially if you have many items. A more efficient way of creating a table is by converting text. If you have a list of items you want to convert to a table, you can do so quickly as long as the items are separated by commas. If we look at our original list, we can see that our items are separated by commas. To convert these, first select them, then go to the Insert tab, open Table menu, and select Convert Text to Table. This will open a new window where we can make some configurations. We can adjust the number of columns from the top field, and in the middle portion, we can change the column width. Let's change this from auto to 3 cm so there is less blank space in our table. And at the bottom, we can choose what to separate text, add paragraphs, commas, or other. But because our items are separated by commas in the document, we will choose commas here and click OK to convert the text to a table. And as simple of that, we've converted text into a table, saving us a lot of time. As you can see, the first table, I manually put all the information in table, while the second table is I simply convert it into a text.
Hi, my name is Hailey Kate Sambolante. I will give some few examples for advanced table. The first example is multi-level sorting. This database management tool is a type of sort operation that uses more than 2 data fields in order to determine the order of records. In a normal sort, data may be arranged by last name, while in a multi-level sort, it could be ordered by last name as well as first name. Here, we have multiple tables. Second column is country and the third is sales. Click on the Layout and Sort button. It brings out the Sort dialog box. We can sort by code, country, and sales. If I click on the down arrow here, let's sort by country. And then the secondary level, let's sort the sales. All of them are ascending. Click OK. As you can see, it's sorted by country. Let's try in sales. the higher sales within the table. Click the Sort button again, click Descending in Sales, and now you can see that the sales are from highest to lowest. Next, converting the limited text to a table. Select the text that you want to convert and then click Insert, then Table, then Convert Text to Table. In the Convert Text to Table box, choose the options you want. Under Table Size, make sure the numbers match the numbers of columns and rows you want. In the Fixed Column with box, type or select a value. The limited text is purely text that is being separated by a standard value. Each value is separated by a tab space or comma space. In my example, if we click on the Show Hide button here, you can see that there is a tab separating this. So this is a tab delimited file. Click it again and it goes away. Go to Insert Table, then click Table. And in Options here, there is a Convert Table. Just click on it and put the number of columns and rows you have. And after that, click OK. Converting table to a text. Select the entire table you want to convert to text. Make sure the Layout tab of the ribbon is displayed. In the Data group, click the Convert to Text tool, where displays the Convert Table to Text dialog box. Select the appropriate character that Word should use to separate the column of text, then click on OK. Here, we have a standard word table. Click on the Layout. You can see here over the Data group is Convert to Text. If I click on Show Hide, you can agree that it has used tab Stop Stud to eliminate. So let's undo it again. I'll click on Layout again and go to Convert to Text. And this time, I'll use a comma and I'll click OK. As you can see, it has a comma now. Heading row for multiple page table. Repeat table header on subsequent pages. In the table, right-click in the row that you want to repeat, and then click Table Properties. In the Table Properties dialog box, on the Row tab, select the Repeat as header row at the top of each page check box. Select OK. Here, we have a large table, and in the headers, there is a description of what the various columns do. But if you look on the second page, you can see that there is no header displayed here. So click on the Layout, and over the Data group, there is a repeater header rows, and I'll click on that. As you can see, they are automatically displayed here. Splitting cell within a table. In the table, click the cell that you want to split. Click the Layout tab. In the Merge group, click Split Cells. In the Split Cells dialog, select the number of columns and rows that you want and then click OK. Let's click the Layout here, and in the Merge group, you can see the split cells. It brings out the dialog box here, and from here, I can control the number of columns and rows. I'll click on OK. Lastly, we will try with the 3 columns in sales. So that's it. That will end my report. Thank you.
to share about advanced tables using Microsoft Word. Now, how to use tables in Microsoft Word? Now, tables play a big role. When it comes to laying out a document, they allow you to present your data in columns and rows of make information look more organized and easier to read, and tables have their contextual ribbon, which many different options available to reorganize, modify, and format the table to match the overall look and feel of any document. So in this video, we are going to go through the process of inserting a table into a document. And then, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks when it comes to formatting the table. So let's first deal with inserting a table into a blank document. Now there are a few different ways that you can do this. So I'm going to show you a couple of them. The first way is to jump up to the insert ribbon. And you'll see that you have a group here called tables. And there's only one option. And there is that the table option. And when you click on that drop down, you essentially get this little grid, so this allows you to select how many rows and how many columns you want in your table. And you can see as I hover my mouse over this grid, it's building the table live in my document.
So if I know, for example, that I want a table with these 3 columns by 4 rows, I just need to select the many squares and the little grid. And I click, and there is my table. Now the other option that you have when it comes to inserting tables, I'm going to quickly delete this table out is again to jump up. To that insert tab, click the table drop down, and instead of using the grid, there is an insert table option. And this is where you can go in and you can specify the number of columns and the number of rows that you want in your table. So I'm going to say that we're going to have 4 columns and we're going to have, let's say, 0 rows, and I can get a choice of the autofit behavior. So for example here, fixed column means that each column in the table will be the same weight with the rate by word, and I have to set the automatic, so it's going to do best fit autofit. So it contains means that each column will fit the contains contained within the table, and finally, auto fit to window means that the column will expand to be flush with the left and right margins. Now I find that the most of the time, this fixed column weight is absolutely fine for what I need to do, because if I need to make any adjustment or changes to the weight of the columns, I can do that after I've inserted the table. So I'm going to click on OK, and then we have my table. Now another option that you have when it comes to inserting tables, I'm just going to put this one underneath the first table, is we can draw our own table. And sometimes this is appropriate because it does give you a lot more control over how your table looks, such as determining the row height, the column weight, and the overall table size. So if I jump up to the insert ribbon, go to the table drop down, there is an option in there for draw table. So let's turn this on, and you will see that my mouse pointer now turns into a little pencil icon. So this is going to allow me to draw my table. So I'm going to start with the outside border, and I'm going to make it big, then take my pencil, so that I can draw in rows and columns. So this is a lot more flexible, and gives me a little bit more control than some of the other options. So I'm just going to draw a few in there, and I can draw some columns. Now, once you finish drawing your table, you see that I still have that pencil icon. All I need to do is jump up to my ribbon and just select the draw table option. So once you have your table drawn, so insert it, which method you're choosing, you will then have the access on the table tools contextual ribbon. So I'm going to do this. On this top example here in this table, so I'm going to select the entire table. If you glance up to your ribbons, you'll see that now, because I have a table selected, I have access to the table design ribbon and the table layout ribbon, and between these 2 ribbons, you can pretty much control every aspect of your table. So let's start with the table design. So this is where I can really control the formatting of my table. For example, in the middle here, I have some table styles I can apply, and you see as I hover over, I get the live view, so I that I quite like this table style, but I want to change. Maybe the background shading of the hidden row. I can just select that hidden row, go up to shading, and I can choose a completely different color. And I'm going to enter some text into here, so I'm going to click into this first cell. I'm going to type in the word Lord, press the top key to move across to the next cell. Tab again, tab again, next. So tab is to allow you to move between your different class in order to input any data. It's worth noting that if you're clicked in a cell, so I click in North, if I was to press enter, it's just going to make the cell taller. It's not going to move me down to the next row. And to do that, I would either need to click with my mouse. In the cell below, alternatively, I can use my down arrow to move to that cell. I can also make adjustment to the weight of these columns. Sometimes by hovering my mouse over the column border and dragging out or in, and I could do the same for the rows. I can drag them up and also I can drag them down. So I've gone ahead and I'm adding some data into the top of this table. Now a few other things that I can do here with formatting again, I have some table style options. So currently, you can see that I have banded rows turned on, which is giving me this alternate blue and white colors in this table. If I turn those off, if it smokes, then I could choose to have banded columns instead. I could choose to format the last column, so you can see now it's made all of those numbers in bold, or I could even add a total row. A hero row or a first column, I could also add some extras to my table by adding borders. So currently, I have very pale borders running through my table. But if I wanted to, I can select my table and I have these borders broken up here. So what I might want to do is to give it a reasonably thick border, so I'm going to select a solid line. I'm going to make the border a bit thicker. So 2¼ points, I'm going to make that border a completely different color. So let's do a right click and then I can choose what kind of border. I want it again. If I hover over these different options, you can see how they apply. So for example, left border is going to give me the green left border. I can do all borders to put a border around everything alternatively. I could just do an outside border or an inside border. So in this case, I'm going to do an outside border and then going to change the weight of my pen. So I'm going to take down to 1½ points. I'm going to change the pen color to a blue color. And this time, I'm going to select inside borders like so. So a lot of different styling options available for you on the table design ribbon. Now, the other ribbon that we have here is the layout ribbon. And this is where you can do things like insert rows, insert columns, merge cells, split cells, change the text direction, and also the alignment of your text within your cells. So let's take a look at some of these basic things. If you want to add a new row in, so if I want a new row in between this row, I'm going to highlight it and the one below. All I need to do is highlight the row, then on the layout ribbon, you can see the rows and columns group. I have the option to insert a new row above where I'm click or below, like so, and the same thing works for columns, so I could highlight the S column and choose if I want to insert a blank column to the left or to the right. Another quick way of adding a row is if you click just outside the table. So in the West column where we have 49, I'm going to click my cursor so just outside of the table. And if I press the enter key, it's going to give me a brand new row. Similarly, if I want to delete anything, so if I want to delete these 2 blank rows that I put in, I can highlight them under the rows and columns view. I have the delete option and I can say delete rows. I'm going to do the same for these blank rows at the bottom, but this time I'm going to right click my mouse and you'll see that I also have an option in the right click menu for deleting rows. Now, one thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to add another blank row on the bottom, so I'm going to click outside of the last row. I'm going to press enter. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to add a formula which is going to add up all of the numbers above. So if you jump to the layout ribbon, you'll see in the data group, we actually have the option to add a formula into your world table. And what's pretty clever, what it's done here is recognize that I have numbers above here. I'm clicking it to enter the formula for me. So it's saying equals sum, and then in brackets it says above. Now there are about 18 different functions that you can use in formulas in Word, and you can see all of them listed in this paste function dropdown. So if it's wanted to do an average calculation, I could select it from there instead and use above, below, left, or right, depending on where my numbers are. Now in this case, I'm fairly happy just to do the sum up above. Click OK and it puts the sum in. So this time, I'm going to do a formula that's going to work out the average of the numbers above. So all I need to do is delete out of the sum function and I'm going to select average. And this time, I'm just going to type in above. Click on OK and I'm now getting the average. Another thing I might want to do to make this table look a bit nicer is I might want to align all of my numbers to the center. So again, I'm going to highlight everything in this table and then in the alignment group, I have lots of options in here. Where it comes to aligning my items within the cell, I'm going to select align center to put those all in the center. Now, don't forget also that you can delete tables. So for example, in this table that I've drawn underneath is no longer needed and you'll see in the top left hand corner, I have this little cruise here. If I click on that cruise here, it's going to allow me to very quickly select the entire table. Now, if I want to delete this, I can right click and I have a delete table option in the right click menu. Alternatively, on the layout ribbon, I have a delete table option. Now another thing that you might find yourself wanting to do is converting tables to regular text. So I might want to remove these numbers and these headings from the table and just them as regular text on my page. And again, Word has a handy little button that's going to help you to do this. I'm gonna select my table app on the layout ribbon in the data group. We have what says where to. Now, when you click that, it's gonna ask you how do you want these fields to be divided up. So, when it takes it out of the table, there's no longer going to be columns and rows in order to separate these values. So, Words is asking you how do you want to separate the text with paragraph, bars with tabs, with commas, or with something else. Now, in this case, I'm going to utilize tabs. Click on OK and you can see that the data is now out of the table and everything is separated by a tab. And if I wanted to put this back in a table, I can highlight this data. I can go to Start ribbon, I can jump down to tables and you can see here I have an option convert text to table words. Pick up that I have 4 columns and the number of rows is 6. Click on OK and I'm back in my table structure. Now the final thing I want to show you with tables is just how to split and merge cells. So for example, if I decide that I want to split this north cell into 2 cells, I can do that somewhat by clicking within the cell, jumping up to the layout ribbon, and in the merge group, I have a split cells option that's gonna ask me how many columns do I want to split in this cell. Now I'm going to split it into 2. But you could definitely do 3 or 4 as long as you have enough space in there. So I'm gonna say split into 2 columns, click on OK, and now you can see I've split that cell. The reverse of that is merging columns. So again, if I wanted to merge this back into one cell, I would need to select both of the cells, jump up to layout, and choose the merge cells option to put that back to one cell. So as you can see, there are plenty of options when it comes to formatting your tables, and there's definitely more than what I've shown you here, but hopefully that will get you started. Get you interested, my recommendation is that you insert a table into a document and just have it with it and see all the things that you can do with tables. Okay, that's all for this video. I hope you learned about advanced table in MS Word. Thank you.
Today we're gonna figure out what exactly is this table. We're gonna identify why we are using table in Microsoft Word. We're gonna take a look at a few examples of tables. Then we're gonna learn how to create a table, how to modify. We're gonna do some borders and shading, cell properties, and some merging and splitting cells. So table is organizers for your information or data. In Microsoft Word, this is similar to a column. However, it's a little better. Now, the methods of a table depends on a task. So if you have a difficult information that you want to convey, then you will use a table in some cases. Table aligning text and table will help you align columns and rows of text with ease. Aligning text can be difficult when using tabs and spaces. As I mentioned, a table will help you align columns and rows of text with ease. Table has two huge advantages. Number 1, it's really easy to change the widths of columns. Number 2, text wraps within a cell of the table, so you can organize your information or data very easy and nicely. Many people uses table for charts, budgets, notes organizers, lists, comparing data sets, or anything. So this a table, it's made of rows and columns, each individual in the box called a cell. You can move from cell to cell by using a tab key. So rows are the horizontal group of cells, columns are the vertical groups of cells. So as I mentioned, tables can be great for comparing information. So this example is for business class. So when creating a table, you can use one of two ways. So the first way is using the toolbar or click the table icon. You can select the numbers of rows and columns by clicking on it. You can adjust columns and rows if necessary by going back to your table, and then you simply enter the data for number of rows or number of columns. And if you don't want to use the toolbar icon, well, you can use the drop-down menu. And it's not a bad idea to learn this because when you use the drop-down menus, you will always know how to access its properties. So using the drop-down menus, you're gonna select the table menu, insert, and then you will see options pop out from that insert tab. And from there, you can now select the numbers of rows and columns in that option table properties. Click OK, then you will have your table. Adding borders and shading. So borders are rules you can add to any or all of the four sides of a paragraph. Shading is the color or artistic design you use as background for a paragraph. Borders and shading are formatting tools for enhancing text, paragraphs, tables, cells, or frames. Modifying cell properties. If you select table or table properties, you can click on the appropriate tab and make unnecessary changes. You can click on table, row, column, or cell, and you can modify them accordingly. Now, on the first tab, this is table, you can left justify, or center justify, right justify table. You can wrap your text around your table. You can do search of different options using your table in the Microsoft. Now the other three tabs are row, column, and cell. For each of these, they give you a various of different options. For the row tab, you can specify your height. For your row, you can allow your row to break across pages. You can repeat as header row at the top of pages. And for the column, under the column tab, you can select different columns by going previous columns or next column. And the really important on this tab is how you allow your text. Never you want your text in the top of the cell, center of the cell, or in the bottom of the cell. By changing the text in your cell, you can create a more dynamic table and therefore convey information a lot more effective ways. The last is merging and splitting cells. Merging cells has to do with combining two cells together into one. So the merge cell, you're gonna highlight the cells to be merged. You're gonna select the table and then merge cells, or you can right click then table and then merge cells, or you can click on the merge cells icon at the top and then click off the cells, and you will see that your cells are merged. So they are combined together. Splitting cells. Divide a cell in either you have a merged cell that you want to divide back into multiple cells, or want a cell to divide into two. To do so, you're gonna select table and split cells, and when you hit the split cells option, there in in the drop-down menu, then you can change the number of columns or rows. If you select the desired amount that you want, then click OK.
Good day everyone! We'd like to show you an electric energy generator with DC motor that doesn't require a battery. We will begin by introducing the project and its components, which are referred to as capacitor, dynamo, fan, bell, LED light, and switch.
Our biggest question is how to make an energy without using an electricity.
Wind turbines first emerged more than a century ago, following the invention of the electric generator in the 1830s. Engineers started attempting to produce electricity. Wind power generation took place in the United Kingdom and United States in 1887 and 1888. But modern wind power is considered to have been first developed in Denmark.
The researcher assumed that the experiment would work 95% according to the criteria using the dynamo and capacitor.
We will now introduce the materials that we need. A plywood, a propeller, a fan, switch, bell, and the capacitor. So let's begin, guys.
Here's our step-by-step process making our electric power pre-energy generator. First, connect the AC motor to the switch using the copper wire, lead, and soldering iron. Second, connect the switch to the PCB board using copper wire and soldering iron as well. Third, connect the PCB board to the switch of the bell using the copper wire and soldering iron. Fourth, connect the LED light to the PCB board using the copper wire and soldering iron. Fifth, connect the bell to the dynamo using copper wire and soldering iron. And lastly, for the sixth step, you need to connect the mini dynamo to the PCB board using the copper wire and soldering iron.
The propeller requires a big amount of air, and when the propeller rotates, the rotor or the dynamo will distribute the energy to the PCB board. And because of the capacitor will filter the energy, and when the energy filtered, the PCB board will distribute the energy to the different dynamo and in LED lights. And this is how it works. It will run without a battery. And if you turn the switch off, the light and the dynamo will turn off too. And if you click that switch, the bell will ring. And if you turn off the switch again, turn on rather, the lights and the dynamo will run. And that's all. Thank you.
We succeed in our experiment using the DC motor and capacitor that helps to provide energy without usage of electric power.
The benefits and uses of our project is to generate or create electricity. Aside from creating electricity, the electric power free energy generator, it can be also used for sport and other activities that rely on the power of the wind. Like for example, windsurfing, land sailing, kite surfing, and etc.
We decided to make a project that entitled Electric Power Free Energy Generator that works using DC motor and capacitor. It runs without the usage of electric power. It leads to generate the continuous electric power. It shows how useful our wind. It gives energy the function may help us primarily because we no longer use the electricity.
We concluded that the wind provides energy to function the DC motor and capacitor, so it no longer requires an electricity in order to work.
What exactly is the goal of this project? It is a structure that transfers wind energy into rotational energy.
Wind can be used as a renewable energy source and as well as to make our lives easier.
And that's how it works. Have a good day, everyone. Bye!